I watched some news coverage this morning. Again, the mayor of Louisville had a press briefing, an update, another one. And it was just so awful to watch this man who understands. The mayor of Louisville is a Jewish guy, and he understands in a way that, say, a non-Jew doesn't. He understands perhaps much more so the way a black person could feel, could understand this kind of destruction. And the reason for it is easily explainable. It's because the Jews have had to suffer through unspeakable horror. But there he was, thanking the first responders, thanking the American Red Cross in Louisville, thanking the people that deserve thanks, and then focusing on the families, on the families of the people who were gunned down. And after he thanked everybody and said what he had to say about the awfulness of it and the sadness and the sorrow and the pain and the suffering that the families, once again, the families are going to have to endure. I mean, what else are they going to do? They can go crazy, I guess. What happens to parents who have 9-year-olds or 6-year-olds gunned down in a school classroom? How do you survive that? I don't think I could. Mentally, emotionally. I just don't think I could. But there was the mayor of Louisville. And at the end of what he had to say, all of his acknowledgments, he talked about the so-called elephant in the room. Guns, fucking guns. And he made a direct plea to the Kentucky legislature to please pass a law that would give these individual cities or counties the authority to make their own laws where it concerned guns. The mayor of Louisville wants them off the street, wants them gone, just like I do, just like you do. But there he stood, practically begging the Kentucky legislature. They don't give a shit. The Christian fascists that run the Kentucky legislature, I'm sure off camera in the privacy of their whatever, they probably laugh at the mayor of Louisville. Oh, did you hear that, Jew? Oh, that's funny. You take away guns. Right, okay. But there stood the mayor of Louisville, begging for a means to stop gun violence, begging the Kentucky legislature. Can you imagine the two senators, Rand Paul, that unconscionable son of a bitch, and Mitch McConnell, the two of them. Can you imagine these two fascists, especially Rand Paul, these two fascist senators doing anything to bring an end to gun violence in Kentucky or in the country? No, you cannot, because they never will. Never. There is not a Christian fascist legislator in any state legislature or on the federal level who ever will do anything to stop this gun slaughter. They will not. You know it as well as I do. The death will just continue. How often do you have the thought, these two most recent slaughters, how often do you have the thought, oh dear God, when's the next one coming? Is it going to be a school, a bank, a church, a synagogue? Where's it going to be this time? A grocery store, a theater, a concert, a gay bar, a not gay bar? Where's it going to be this time? I often deal with that issue. What the issue being, what the hell is wrong with us that we have such an easily identifiable killer of children? And I don't mean to focus just on children, but the fact is, gun death is now the leading cause of death for kids. Can you fucking believe this? Gun violence, the leading cause of death for children. And we don't do anything. We don't do anything. It's easily preventable. Easily. What human being in this country needs to have a goddamn AR-15 semi-automatic weapon of war? Nobody. However, back in Nashville yesterday, it was very inspiring for me. It brought tears to my eyes to see so many white folk in that that Nashville legislative office, whatever, city council, whatever it was, voting for justice, voting to send one of the two Justin, and the other Justin, the one from Memphis, he'll get back in too. But seeing all the white people by unanimous vote, what was 34, 36, whatever it was, to nothing. Yes, you're going to take our guy back. And just like I felt 2 summers ago during the Black Lives Matter demonstrations that Molly and I participated in here in Atlanta, and to see all these white people out there marching for and speaking up for and participating in rallies for justice. And it's a race thing. You know what we're talking about. You know what is being talked about when they talk about justice. White folk don't have to worry about justice. Come on. Which is not to say that some poor whites are not deprived of justice. I get that. I understand that. But we white people have a suit of goddamn armor on 24/7, 365. We do, especially when we confront law enforcement in this country. We have a suit of armor, and it's the color of our skin. We're not going to get fucked with the way black folk do. Come on, you know that. Of course you know that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to yell. So I was particularly happy to see all those white people in that Nashville city council, legislative office, whatever it was, voting unanimously to send Justin back where he belongs, to send that representative back where he belongs, and to see all those young white folk. Yeah, I've got to focus on the white folk, because the young whites, because that is where, if there ever is to be such a thing as salvation in this country, that's where it's going to lie. With young white folk and young black folk. But because white folk have that suit of armor on, they've got to be co-leaders in this. Black folk always step out in the vanguard, looking for justice, looking for equality of opportunity, looking for a good education, looking for a chance at a job. Black folk are always at the point of the spear. But white folk got to be there too, especially these young people. Oh, man. I didn't mean to get on my preacher box this morning. The old Malloy soapbox. But I'm worried. I'm always worried. I'm always worried about what's going to happen here. How are we going to find redemption? What salvation? Call it whatever you want. But until there is some sort of incredible change that is probably impossible, white folk are going to control the levers of power in this country. Educational power, corporate power, government power. And it's white people that have got to be educated, have got to educate themselves. We have to. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.